Suffering doesn't come from what happens to you, but from how you react to it. If you want to stop the cycle of emotional pain, the first thing you need to understand is this tough truth. Suffering isn't caused by the things that happen, but by your resistance to them. Most people go through life without realizing this, stuck in a never-ending loop of suffering, not understanding that they are the ones keeping it alive. Carl Jung summed this up perfectly when he said, "What you resist persists." This isn't just a catchy saying. It's a deep truth in both psychology and spirituality that can change your life. Think about it. When something negative happens, you naturally feel emotions like sadness, anger, or disappointment. But suffering doesn't come from the event itself. It comes from the inner battle against what is happening. It's the mind saying, "This shouldn't be happening. I can't handle this. It's unfair." That resistance is what turns pain into long-lasting suffering. The human mind is hardwired to want control. We want things to go as we expect. We try to avoid pain at all costs and want the world to work according to our rules. But life doesn't follow our plans. When something happens that goes against our expectations, we instinctively resist. We refuse to accept the situation as it is. This is when suffering takes hold. The struggle against what cannot be changed. For example, when a relationship ends, the pain you feel may last for days, weeks, or even months. But the prolonged suffering comes from not letting go, dwelling on the past and insisting it shouldn't have happened. The same goes for any loss, betrayal, or failure. It's not the event itself that keeps you stuck, but your refusal to accept what already is. So, how do you break this cycle? The key is a powerful principle: radical acceptance. And here's the important part. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up or liking what happened. It means deciding to stop resisting. Instead of fighting reality, you focus your energy on what you can control, your reaction. When you fully accept what is, something amazing happens. The weight of suffering starts to lift. Not because the pain goes away right away, but because you're no longer adding to it with resistance. Imagine someone who gets fired. If they stay angry and feel it's unfair, they could remain stuck in pain for years, blaming the world. But if they accept the reality and ask, "What can I do with this situation?" they take back control of their life and turn the pain into growth. The key here is perspective. Jung talked about integrating everything we experience, even the negative. Because pain, once accepted, turns into wisdom. A big mistake many people make is thinking their suffering is unique, that no one else has ever felt this way. But the truth is, pain is part of being human. We all experience it. The difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck is how they relate to that pain. Those who resist suffer, and those who accept grow. If you want to heal, the first step is to stop fighting life. Accept what happened, accept what you can't change, and focus on what you can transform. Here's what no one tells you. When you apply this principle, you'll realize that most of your suffering didn't come from the event itself, but from how you clung to the pain. For example, when a relationship ends and you suffer for years, it wasn't just the breakup. It was your refusal to let go. When someone betrays you and you can't move on, it's not just the betrayal, but your attachment to resentment. When you lose an opportunity and can't move past it, it's not just the lost opportunity, but your obsession with what could have been. When you stop resisting, when you stop fighting reality, suffering fades. The pain doesn't disappear instantly, but you stop feeding it, and over time, it turns into a lesson, not a burden. Now, let's dive deeper. In the next section, we'll explore how your unconscious mind can trap you in the same patterns of suffering, even when you know it's happening. You'll discover why, even with this knowledge, you might still find yourself experiencing the same pain over and over again. When you uncover this, you'll realize how much control you truly have over your life. In the next chapter, We'll discuss how your unconscious mind keeps you stuck in a cycle of suffering and what you can do to break free. If you think suffering just happens to you, it's time to face a truth that no one tells you. You create it without even realizing it. Not because you want to suffer, but because your unconscious mind is wired to keep you stuck in the same pain. Carl Jung put it simply, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it destiny. This means the pain you keep experiencing isn't random. It's not because life is out to get you or the universe is against you. It's because emotional and mental patterns are repeating in your mind automatically. The unconscious mind is like a program installed in you since childhood. If you grew up believing that love means pain, that abandonment is inevitable, or that the world is cruel, those beliefs become ingrained in you. What most people don't realize is that the unconscious mind isn't trying to make you happy. It's just seeking what's familiar. That's why, even though you consciously want to move past suffering, a part of you still attracts the same painful situations. You might find yourself in relationships that hurt you over and over again. You might notice that every time something good happens, it feels like you somehow mess it up or lose it. You feel like you keep falling into the same issues, even though you swear things will be different this time. This isn't a coincidence. It's your mind repeating old patterns. Emotional self-sabotage. Why do you choose what harms you? If, as a child, you learned that love always comes with abandonment, you may find yourself drawn to people who make you feel the same way today. It's not because you want to suffer, but because your mind is trying to confirm what it's always known. If you were rejected or humiliated as a child, you might now avoid new opportunities out of fear of being hurt again. You might choose what feels safe, even if it means staying stuck in pain. And here's the hardest truth. If you don't become aware of this pattern, you'll keep repeating it, thinking it's just your fate. People often say, "Why do I always meet the same type of people? Why do I end up in the same situations? Life keeps throwing me the same challenges." But in reality, it's not life doing this. It's you, unknowingly repeating the same pattern. So, how do you break this cycle of emotional pain? Here's the key. You can't change what you don't see. To stop repeating the same cycle, you need to first identify the pattern. Ask yourself, what's the most common emotion in my life? Rejection, fear, frustration, or something else? What kind of relationships or situations do I end up in? What story do I tell myself about who I am and the world around me? And what keeps me stuck in pain? When you start answering these questions, you'll realize something powerful. The suffering you've been through isn't coming from outside. It's coming from within you, and you've been projecting it into your life. The moment everything changes, breaking the cycle of emotional pain doesn't mean you'll never feel sad or frustrated again. It means you won't be controlled by a pattern you're not even aware of. Once you become aware of your unconscious programming, you stop being a prisoner to it. Pain is a part of life, but you don't have to keep feeding it. You can choose consciously instead of letting your mind run on autopilot. Next, we'll dive into the role the ego plays in maintaining your suffering and how to disarm it before it keeps sabotaging your life. Once you understand the ego's role, you'll start to take back control. The ego thrives on your suffering. If you want to break free from emotional pain, you need to understand that the ego is the biggest obstacle in your healing journey. The ego is that voice inside that tells you you're justified in feeling hurt, that life is unfair, and that others need to change for you to heal. But here's the harsh reality. The ego doesn't want you to heal. Without your pain, it has no purpose. Carl Jung once said, "The mind that creates the problem is not the one that can solve it. The ego is the mind that created your suffering in the first place." If you try to heal while still holding on to the ego, you'll just reinforce the pain you're trying to escape. How does the ego sabotage your healing? The ego is sneaky. It doesn't directly tell you to keep suffering, but it convinces you that there are good reasons to stay stuck. It makes you hold on to your pain, replaying how you were betrayed or how unfair life has been to you. It tricks you into believing that focusing on these past hurts will give you power. But in reality, it just keeps you trapped. Over time, you start to identify with your suffering. You might say things like, "I'm someone who's always betrayed. I'm always left behind." By doing this, you strengthen that identity in your mind. The ego also makes you believe the problem is always outside of you. It's the other person or life itself. That's the issue. But this is a trap. By waiting for things to change around you, you give away your own power. The ego feeds on conflict and keeps reopening old wounds. This is what keeps you stuck in victimhood. How does the ego keep you weak? One of the most subtle ways it does this is by keeping you in a victim mindset. When you think of yourself as a victim, you believe everything bad that happens is someone else's fault. While it may feel like protection, you're actually giving away your personal power. If you think you have no control over your life, you'll never take action to change it. And that's exactly what the ego wants. To keep you small, powerless, and stuck in suffering. Here's the toughest truth. No one is coming to save you. No matter how much you suffer or blame others, you're the only one who can break the cycle. How do you disarm the ego and take back control? The first step is recognizing that the ego is not you. You are not your suffering, your past, or that voice in your head telling you that you'll always be a victim. The ego wants you to hold on to your pain because that's what keeps it alive. When you stop feeding it, the ego loses its power over you. Here are 3 steps to start breaking the ego's grip. Observe the voice in your head. When the ego starts reminding you of old wounds or telling you that life is unfair, simply notice it. Don't identify with that voice. Acknowledge that it's just an old mental program. Stop feeding the story of suffering. Every time you replay the same painful story in your head, you strengthen the wound. Ask yourself, does this story make me stronger or weaker? If it weakens you, let it go. The ego wants you to react with anger, take offense, and stay stuck in the same emotional loop. But when you choose to respond with calm, detachment, and acceptance, you take away its power over you. That's when the ego loses its control. When you start to see the ego for what it really is, something incredible happens. It stops ruling your life. At that point, you no longer feel the need to cling to your pain. You stop looking for outside validation. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances. And that's when you realize something profound. Suffering doesn't come from what happens to you, but from how you react to it. The pain was real, but the story the ego created around it is what kept you trapped. In the next section, we'll look at one of the most important truths about emotional healing. Pain doesn't go away by fighting it, but by embracing it in a completely new way. Once you understand this, you'll realize that healing isn't something distant. It's something you can start experiencing right now. Stop resisting pain. As they say, what you resist persists. If there's one thing we were wrongly taught growing up, it's that emotional pain must be avoided, repressed, or denied. We were told things like, "Don't cry, be strong, it's not a big deal." Without realizing it, we learned to fight against our own suffering instead of facing it. But here's the truth. No one tells you. What you resist only gets stronger. When you try to run from pain, you just make it worse. The more you push it away, the more it controls you from deep within. The more you avoid feeling it, the more it settles into your mind and body. Carl Jung put it perfectly. We don't become enlightened by thinking about positive things, but by confronting the darkness. In other words, you can't heal by ignoring your pain. You have to face it head on. Think about the cycle of resisting pain. When someone pushes you, what's your first instinct? To push back, right? It's the same with emotional pain. Every time you feel sadness, anger, or anxiety and try to push it away, you give it more power. You try to suppress it. You don't want to cry. You don't want to feel vulnerable. So you convince yourself everything is fine when it's not. But the pain doesn't go away. It stays hidden, buried inside. You distract yourself with work, your phone, social media, anything to avoid feeling empty inside. But when you're alone, it all comes rushing back, even stronger. You look for someone to blame. The ego tells you the problem lies outside of you, in the person who hurt you or in the unfairness of life. But as long as you keep blaming others, you never look within to heal. It's a cycle that traps so many people. It's not the pain itself that destroys us, it's our resistance to it that makes it unbearable. This is where the power of acceptance comes in. The key to breaking this cycle is simple. Stop resisting pain and begin to experience it without fighting it. It might seem counterintuitive, but this is the only way to set yourself free. Instead of running away from the pain, allow yourself to feel it fully. Instead of suppressing it, observe it without judgment. If you feel sadness, live through it without pushing it away. If you feel anger, don't deny it. Just notice it without reacting impulsively. Let yourself experience the emotion without resistance. And here's the surprising part. When you do this, when you truly connect with what you're feeling without trying to change it, the pain starts to lose its hold on you. This is the principle of impermanence. Nothing lasts forever. One of the most powerful truths you can learn is that everything passes. No emotion is permanent. No suffering lasts forever. Yet, when you resist pain, you only make it last longer. Carl Jung talked about inner transformation, and impermanence is a key part of that. Pain, like pleasure, is temporary. It doesn't define you, and it won't last forever. Think back to the last tough time you went through. At the time, you probably thought you'd never get through it. But here you are, with new experiences and new perspectives. The same will be true for any pain you're feeling now. It too will pass. So, how do you practice radical acceptance of pain? If you truly want to stop being a slave to your suffering, here are 3 steps you can start using right now. First, stop judging your pain. Instead of asking, "Why do I feel this way?" or "When will this end?" just allow yourself to feel it without labeling it. It's neither good nor bad. It's just something you're experiencing. Second, pay attention to where you feel it in your body. When you feel anxiety, anger, or sadness, don't get caught up in the mental story. This isn't fair. Instead, notice where you feel it physically. How does the emotion manifest in your body? Observe it without fighting it. Third, breathe through the emotion. Instead of tensing up, take deep breaths and let the emotion flow through you. There's nothing to do but be present with what you feel. When you learn to accept pain rather than fight it, something amazing happens. You realize it doesn't have control over you. That doesn't mean the pain goes away immediately, but its hold on you begins to fade. And in that moment, you stop being a victim of your suffering and become someone who moves through it with maturity and strength. Your real power lies in accepting what is, not fighting against it. Most people spend their lives running from pain without realizing that the only way to free themselves is to face it. And when you do that, when you stop resisting and simply feel it, you'll discover something incredible. Pain isn't the enemy. Suffering isn't there to break you. It's there to transform you. And once you understand that, you stop being afraid of it. Do the opposite of what the ego wants. In the next section, we'll explore how to turn your pain into power. Once you stop fighting it, you can use it as a tool to grow and evolve in ways you never imagined. When you do this, you'll realize that healing isn't just possible. It's inevitable. Transform your pain into strength. The process of healing. By now, you understand that resisting pain only makes it worse, avoiding it only deepens it, and accepting it is the first step to freedom. But there's something even more powerful. Transforming your pain into your greatest source of strength. Carl Jung explained this concept of inner alchemy. In the past, alchemists tried to turn lead into gold. Jung realized that real alchemy is psychological and spiritual. Lead represents our pain, fears, and deep wounds, while gold symbolizes the wisdom, maturity, and strength we gain by using our pain to grow. So, instead of asking how to avoid suffering, the real question is, how can we use it to become stronger, wiser, and more free? The hidden power of pain. A call to awaken. Think about it. The strongest, wisest people you know didn't get that way because life was easy. They became who they are because they walked through pain and emerged transformed. Every painful experience is a chance to awaken and become a more conscious, resilient version of yourself. Jung called this the dark night of the soul, a time when you face your greatest suffering, but also your greatest opportunity for transformation. It's the moment when everything seems to fall apart, when you think you can't move forward, and the pain feels unbearable. But instead of resisting, if you ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this pain to grow? You stop being a victim and become the alchemist of your own life. From destruction to rebirth, how pain creates a new you. Every time you face loss, betrayal, or deep disappointment, something inside of you changes. But what many don't realize is that this death is necessary. It's the death of old illusions, false expectations, and identities that no longer serve you. After every death comes a rebirth, a chance to rebuild yourself stronger and more authentic. If you look back, you'll see that the moments that truly shaped you weren't the happy ones, but the ones where you faced adversity and overcame it. That's the transformation process. Pain breaks you down and shatters the beliefs you had about yourself and the world. It forces you to confront parts of yourself you may have ignored. It gives you the opportunity to choose, remain stuck or evolve. The power is in your hands to decide how pain will shape you. A practical method to turn pain into power. Change your mindset. Pain isn't punishment. It's an initiation. Those who see suffering as an injustice stay trapped in bitterness, while those who see it as a chance to transform grow stronger. Every difficult experience is a lesson life gives you. Instead of asking, why me? Logically ask, what can I learn from this? Make your story your strength. Look at those who've turned extreme pain into something positive. Some were rejected and learned to validate themselves. Others were betrayed and learned to trust their intuition. Some hit rock bottom and found strength they never knew they had. Your story is yours, and what you make of it is completely up to you. Use pain as fuel for your growth. Pain can either destroy you or propel you forward. It's your choice. If someone hurts you, instead of holding on to resentment, use that energy to grow. If you feel life has been unfair, prove you can overcome anything. If a loss has left you empty, fill yourself with a greater purpose. The most successful people didn't get there because they never suffered. They got there because they used their suffering to drive them forward. The ultimate test: turning pain into wisdom. When you've experienced suffering and learned from it, something incredible happens. You become immune to things that used to affect you. You stop reacting to negativity because you understand it's not about you. You stop fearing pain because you know you can endure it and come out stronger. You develop a powerful presence because you faced your darkness and discovered your light. This is what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming your true, authentic self, without masks, fear, or needing external validation. Once you reach this stage, the cycle of emotional pain breaks. You no longer define yourself by your suffering, and you stop avoiding it or fearing it. Instead, you use it as a teacher to keep evolving. And here's the most amazing realization. Pain hasn't made you weaker, it's made you invincible. The choice is yours. You now understand that pain isn't something to run from. It's the spark that can ignite your greatest transformation. You have two options. Stay stuck in suffering by resisting it and feeling like a victim of your circumstances. Use it as a springboard to become stronger, wiser, and more unstoppable than ever. Only one option leads to freedom. Which will you choose? Let me know in the comments. If you decide to break the cycle and turn every tough experience into a stepping stone for growth, say, I transform my pain into strength. Once you make this choice, nothing and no one can stop you. If you've made it this far, you're ready to change your life. But this is just the beginning. Watch the next video and let it guide you even deeper into this journey of transformation. Click now, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything that can change how you view life. See you in the next video.